Billy lived on a small farm, a little bit away from town. His house was cozy, but it often felt too quiet. Billy was a kind man with a big heart, always ready to lend a hand. He had a smile that could light up a room, but most days, there wasn't anyone around to see it. He spent his days tending to his chickens, fixing fences, and planting vegetables. Billy dreamed of having a family. He imagined children running through the fields, their laughter echoing through the valley. He wished for someone to share his quiet evenings with, someone to tell stories to under the starry sky. He would often sit on his porch watching the sunset, picturing a wife and kids beside him. He wasn't lonely exactly, but he longed for connection, for the feeling of belonging that a family brings. He knew it wouldn't be easy. He was a bit clumsy, always tripping over things or getting covered in mud. He wasn't sure if he was the kind of person who could attract a partner, let alone raise a family. But he held on to his dream, hoping that one day it might come true. He knew he had a lot of love to give, if only he had someone to give it to. His days were filled with simple tasks, but his heart was filled with a quiet longing. One evening, as Billy finished his chores, the sky turned an angry shade of gray. The wind howled, rattling the windows of his little farmhouse. A terrible storm was brewing. Rain lashed against the roof, and thunder boomed in the distance. Billy hurried inside, feeling a little uneasy. He made himself a cup of hot cocoa and sat by the fireplace, listening to the storm rage outside. Suddenly, he heard a faint whimper. He strained his ears, trying to pinpoint the sound. It came again, weaker this time, carried on the wind. Billy grabbed his raincoat and ventured outside. The rain was coming down in sheets, making it hard to see. He followed the sound, his heart pounding in his chest. Near the barn, huddled against the wall, he saw her, a small, shivering dog, soaked to the bone. She was thin, her ribs showing through her matted fur. She looked up at Billy with big, sad eyes, and let out another weak whimper. He could see she was hurt. Billy gently scooped her up in his arms, careful not to cause her any more pain. She was trembling uncontrollably. He carried her inside, feeling a surge of protectiveness. He knew he had to help her. He wrapped her in a warm blanket and laid her down near the fire. The storm raged on outside, but inside, Billy was focused on the small, frightened creature in his arms. He knew, somehow, that his life was about to change. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving behind a world washed clean and sparkling in the sunlight. Billy woke up early, his first thought going to the dog. He found her still sleeping soundly by the fire, wrapped in the blanket. He gently touched her head, and she opened her eyes, looking at him with a grateful expression. Billy knew he had to take care of her. He didn't know where she came from or how she got hurt, but he couldn't just leave her to fend for herself. He decided to name her Lucky. It seemed fitting, considering she was lucky to be alive after the storm. He carefully examined her. She had a few cuts and scrapes, and she was definitely underweight. He cleaned her wounds with warm water and a soft cloth, and then he gave her a small bowl of warm milk. She lapped it up eagerly, her tail wagging weakly. Over the next few days, Billy nursed Lucky back to health. He fed her regularly, making sure she got plenty of rest. He took her for short walks in the sunshine, letting her explore the farm at her own pace. Slowly but surely, Lucky started to regain her strength. Her fur began to shine, and her eyes sparkled with life. She followed Billy everywhere, becoming his constant companion. He talked to her while he worked in the garden, and she would listen attentively, tilting her head as if she understood every word. Billy realized he wasn't just helping Lucky. She was helping him too. Her presence filled his house with warmth and laughter, chasing away the loneliness he had felt for so long. One sunny afternoon, Billy decided to take Lucky into town with him. He needed to pick up some supplies from the general store, and he figured Lucky could use a little adventure. He put her on a leash and they walked down the dusty road, Lucky trotting happily beside him. As they approached the town, people started to notice them. Some smiled and waved, but others stared with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. When they reached the general store, a group of men were sitting on the porch, whittling wood and chatting. They stopped talking when they saw Billy and Lucky. "Well, look what the cat dragged in," one of them said, chuckling. Another man squinted at Lucky. "That mutt looks half dead, Billy. What are you gonna do with her?" Billy felt his cheeks flush. He knew Lucky wasn't the prettiest dog, but she was special to him. "I'm taking care of her," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. She needed help. The men exchanged glances and burst out laughing. "Taking care of her? She's a lost cause, Billy. You're wasting your time." "Yeah," another man added. "You'd be better off getting a new dog. One that's actually worth something." Billy felt a pang of anger, but he tried to ignore them. He held Lucky's leash tighter and walked into the store, trying to block out their laughter. He could feel Lucky trembling beside him, sensing the negativity in the air. He just wanted to get his supplies and leave, to escape the judging eyes and hurtful words. He resolved to never bring her into town again. Back at the farm, Billy knelt down and hugged Lucky tightly. "Don't listen to them, girl," he whispered. "You're not a lost cause. You're the best thing that's happened to me in a long time." He meant every word. He spent the rest of the day tending to Lucky, brushing her fur until it shone and feeding her extra treats. He made sure she knew she was loved and valued. He ignored the voices in his head that echoed the townsfolk's words, the doubts that whispered he was foolish for caring so much about a worthless animal. He knew Lucky still needed time to heal, both physically and emotionally. He continued to nurse her back to health, day in and day out. He made sure she had a warm bed, plenty of food, and lots of love and attention. He read stories to her in the evenings, his voice soothing and gentle. He took her for walks in the fields, letting her chase butterflies and sniff the flowers. Slowly but surely, Lucky began to thrive. She gained weight, her fur grew thicker and shinier, and her eyes sparkled with happiness. She became more playful, chasing after squirrels and barking at birds. She was no longer the scared, shivering creature he had found during the storm. She was a happy, healthy dog, full of life and energy, and Billy knew that he had played a part in her transformation. He had given her a second chance, and she had repaid him with her unwavering loyalty and affection. He wouldn't trade her for anything in the world, no matter what anyone else thought. Months passed. The seasons changed, painting the farm in a vibrant tapestry of colors. Spring blossomed into summer, summer faded into autumn, and autumn mellowed into winter. Throughout it all, Lucky remained by Billy's side, his constant companion and loyal friend. She was no longer the skinny, matted dog the townsfolk had laughed at. Her fur was thick and glossy, her eyes sparkled with intelligence, and her tail wagged with unbridled enthusiasm. She loved to run and play, chasing squirrels through the fields and splashing in the creek. She was a picture of health and happiness, a testament to Billy's unwavering care and devotion. Billy, too, had changed. He was no longer quite so clumsy, and he carried himself with a newfound confidence. He smiled more often, and his eyes held a sparkle that hadn't been there before. He was still a bit shy, but he was slowly starting to open up to the world. He had learned a valuable lesson from Lucky, that everyone deserves a second chance, and that even the most broken creatures can be healed with love and kindness. He was grateful for her presence in his life, for the joy and companionship she had brought him. He still dreamed of having a family, but now he knew that family wasn't just about blood. It was about love, loyalty, and connection. And he already had that with Lucky. She was his family, and he loved her more than words could say. There were a few children in the nearby town, mostly rambunctious boys known for their mischief. They used to tease Billy, calling him names and making fun of his clumsiness. They saw him as an easy target, a lonely old man who lived on a farm by himself. They never understood his kindness or his quiet strength. But something changed when they saw Lucky. At first, they were wary, remembering the skinny, matted dog Billy had brought into town. They still snickered and whispered, but they couldn't deny that Lucky was different now. She was beautiful, with her glossy fur and sparkling eyes, and she seemed to radiate a warmth and friendliness that drew them in. One afternoon, while Billy was fixing a fence, The children cautiously approached the farm. They kept their distance at first, watching Lucky as she played in the field. She noticed them and wagged her tail, trotting over to them with a playful bark. The children hesitated. Then one brave boy reached out and petted her. Lucky licked his hand, and the boy giggled. Soon, all the children were petting her, their faces lighting up with joy. They had never seen a dog so gentle and friendly. They began to visit the farm more often, drawn to Lucky's playful nature and Billy's quiet kindness. They still teased Billy sometimes, but their teasing was less mean-spirited now. They were starting to see him in a new light, not as a lonely old man, but as a kind and caring person who had rescued a dog and given her a second chance. And they wanted to be a part of that. Lucky was wonderful with the children. She seemed to understand that they needed her just as much as she had needed Billy. She was always patient and gentle, even when they were a little rough with her. She loved to play fetch, running tirelessly after the ball and bringing it back with a proud wag of her tail. She would let them brush her fur for hours, never complaining or getting restless. She was especially good with the younger children, the ones who were shy and timid. She seemed to sense their fear and insecurity, and she would approach them slowly and cautiously, nudging them gently with her nose until they felt comfortable enough to pet her. She would then lie down beside them, letting them cuddle and hug her, providing them with a sense of comfort and security. She was also protective of them, keeping a watchful eye on them as they played in the fields. If they wandered too far or got into trouble, she would bark loudly, alerting Billy to their predicament. She was their guardian, their protector, their furry friend. She was everything they could have ever asked for in a dog, and more. She was a constant source of joy and laughter, filling their lives with happiness and love. She was, in every sense of the word, a perfect companion. And she was quickly becoming more than just a dog to them. She was becoming a part of their family. Seeing how much the children loved Lucky, Billy decided to include them in his daily farm chores. He showed them how to feed the chickens, collect the eggs, and water the vegetables. He taught them about the different plants and animals on the farm, sharing his knowledge and passion for nature. At first, the children were hesitant, unsure of themselves and afraid of making mistakes. But Billy was patient and encouraging, guiding them gently and praising their efforts. He showed them that even the smallest tasks could be rewarding, and that hard work could be fun. They learned to appreciate the simple things in life, like the taste of fresh eggs and the beauty of a blooming flower. They discovered the importance of taking care of the environment and respecting all living creatures. They developed a sense of responsibility and a strong work ethic. Working alongside Billy and Lucky, the children began to form a bond with the farm. It became their sanctuary, a place where they could escape the pressures of town and connect with nature. They learned to rely on each other, supporting each other through challenges and celebrating each other's successes. They were becoming a team, a family, bound together by their shared love for the farm and for each other. Billy was surprised at how much he enjoyed their company, how their laughter filled the once quiet farm with life and joy. He was no longer just a lonely farmer. He was a mentor, a friend, a father figure, and he wouldn't have it any other way. Soon, the children were spending all their free time at Billy's farm. School days felt long and tedious, and they couldn't wait for the final bell to ring so they could rush to the farm and help with the chores. Weekends were even better, as they could spend the entire day working and playing alongside Billy and Lucky. They helped Billy plant seeds in the spring, weed the garden in the summer, and harvest the crops in the fall. They learned how to milk the cows, shear the sheep, and collect honey from the beehives. They even helped Billy repair fences and build new structures on the farm. They loved being outdoors, breathing in the fresh air and feeling the warmth of the sun on their faces. They enjoyed the physical labor, the satisfaction of seeing the fruits of their efforts. They reveled in the camaraderie, the feeling of belonging to something bigger than themselves. Billy provided them with a safe and nurturing environment, a place where they could be themselves and express their creativity. He encouraged them to explore their interests and pursue their passions. He taught them the importance of kindness, compassion, and respect. He was more than just a farmer. He was a role model, a mentor, a friend, and the children cherished him for it. The farm had become their haven, their escape, their home away from home. And they knew that they were incredibly lucky to have Billy and Lucky in their lives. They had found a family in the most unexpected of places. One afternoon, as the children were helping Billy bake cookies in the farmhouse kitchen, little Lily, the youngest of the group, tripped and scraped her knee. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she started to cry. Lucky, who had been napping by the fireplace, immediately jumped up and rushed to Lily's side. She nudged Lily's hand with her nose, whimpering softly as if to say, "It's okay. I'm here." Lily wrapped her arms around Lucky's neck, burying her face in her soft fur. The other children gathered around, offering words of comfort and support. As Billy cleaned and bandaged Lily's knee, Lily continued to cling to Lucky, finding solace in her presence. When Billy was finished, Lily looked up at Lucky with tear-filled eyes and said, "Thank you, Mom." Billy and the other children were taken aback by her words. It was the first time anyone had ever called Lucky Mom, but it felt right somehow. Lucky had always been so nurturing and protective of the children, always there to comfort them and care for them. She had become a mother figure to them, a source of unconditional love and support. The other children looked at each other, a glimmer of understanding in their eyes. They realized that Lily had simply put into words what they had all been feeling for a long time. Lucky wasn't just a dog. She was their mom. From that day on, the children started calling Lucky Mom. It became her new name, a testament to her unwavering love and devotion. And Lucky, in turn, seemed to embrace her new role, showering the children with even more affection and attention. She was, after all, a mom at heart. Hearing the children call Lucky Mom filled Billy's heart with a warmth he had never known before. It was as if his dream of having a family was finally coming true, in the most unexpected way. He watched as Lucky interacted with the children, showering them with affection and attention, and he knew that she was more than just a dog to them. She was their protector, their confidant, their mom. He realized that he, too, had found a family in these children and in Lucky. They had brought joy and laughter back into his life, filling the void that had been there for so long. He was no longer a lonely farmer, but a cherished member of a loving and supportive community. He smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes, and he knew that he wouldn't trade this life for anything in the world. He had found happiness in the simplest of things, in the love of a dog, in the laughter of children, in the warmth of a shared meal. He continued to teach the children about farming, about nature, about life. He instilled in them the values of hard work, kindness, and compassion. He showed them the importance of respecting all living creatures and taking care of the environment. He was their mentor, their friend, their father figure, and they, in turn, filled his life with purpose and meaning. Together, they were a family, bound together by their shared love for each other and for the farm. And they were living proof that family isn't just about blood. It's about love, loyalty, and connection. The townsfolk, who had once laughed at Billy and scorned Lucky, began to notice the change in the children. They saw them laughing and playing on the farm, helping Billy with his chores, and radiating a joy and happiness that had been missing before. They couldn't help but be curious. They started to drive by the farm more often, slowing down to watch the children as they played with Lucky. They saw how gentle and patient she was with them, how she seemed to anticipate their needs and respond to their emotions. They saw the bond that had formed between them, a bond of love, loyalty, and trust. Slowly but surely, their hearts began to soften. They started to realize that they had been wrong about Billy and about Lucky. They had judged them based on appearances, without taking the time to understand their true nature. They had dismissed them as outcasts, without recognizing the value of their kindness and compassion. One day, a group of women from the town decided to visit the farm. They brought with them a basket of homemade cookies and a bouquet of flowers. They approached Billy cautiously, apologizing for their past behavior and expressing their admiration for what he had accomplished. They told him that they had been inspired by his kindness and his dedication to Lucky. They said that they had learned a valuable lesson about judging others and about the importance of second chances. They asked if they could help out on the farm, volunteering their time and skills to support Billy and the children. Billy, touched by their sincerity, welcomed them with open arms. He knew that they had finally seen the light and that they were ready to embrace the true meaning of community. Billy, Lucky, and the children formed a unique and loving family. They worked together, played together, and supported each other through thick and thin. They celebrated their successes and comforted each other during their struggles. They were a team, a community, a family. They didn't care that they weren't related by blood. They knew that family was about more than just genetics. It was about love, loyalty, and connection. It was about being there for each other, no matter what. It was about sharing their lives and their hearts. They showed the world that family could be found in the most unexpected of places, and in the most unconventional of ways. They proved that love knows no boundaries, and that kindness can conquer all. The farm became a haven for those who were seeking connection and belonging. People from all walks of life were drawn to the farm, seeking solace and support. Billy, Lucky, and the children welcomed them with open arms, sharing their love and their laughter. They created a community where everyone felt valued and respected, where everyone had a place to call home. They became an inspiration to others, showing them that even the most broken hearts can be healed with love and compassion. They taught them that everyone deserves a second chance, and that even the most unlikely of creatures can bring joy and happiness into our lives. They were a testament to the power of love and to the beauty of the human spirit. They were, in every sense of the word, a family. And they were happy. As the sun set over the farm, casting a warm golden glow on everything, Billy sat on the porch with Lucky by his side. The children were playing in the fields, their laughter echoing through the air. He watched them, his heart overflowing with love and gratitude. He thought back to that stormy night when he had found Lucky, shivering and scared, huddled near the barn. He had no idea at the time that rescuing her would change his life so profoundly. He had thought he was saving her, but he realized now that she had saved him too. She had brought him love, companionship, and a sense of purpose. She had shown him that family wasn't just about blood, but about love, loyalty, and connection. She had helped him to open his heart and to embrace the joy and beauty of life. And the children, they had filled his life with laughter, energy, and hope. They had taught him the importance of kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. They had shown him that even the most broken hearts can be healed with love. He looked at Lucky, her eyes shining with affection, and he smiled. "We did good, girl," he whispered. "We built a family." He knew that their journey wasn't over yet. There would be challenges and obstacles along the way. But he also knew that they would face them together, as a family, bound together by their shared love and their unwavering commitment to each other. And that, he realized, was all that mattered. He was finally home. The final rays of sunlight faded below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange, pink, and purple. The children, tired from a day of playing and working on the farm, gathered around Billy and Lucky on the porch. They snuggled close, their small bodies pressed against Billy's sides and Lucky's warm fur. Billy looked at them, his heart overflowing with love. He saw their smiling faces, their sparkling eyes, their unbridled joy. He saw the family that he had always dreamed of, a family that had been built on love, kindness, and compassion. He looked at Lucky, her head resting on his lap, her tail wagging gently. He saw the dog that the townsfolk had laughed at, the lost cause that everyone had written off. He saw the mum that the children adored, the protector, the confidant, the friend. He realized that he hadn't just rescued her from the storm. She had rescued him from his loneliness, his insecurities, his fears. She had given him a second chance at happiness, a reason to believe in himself, a family to call his own. He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath of the fresh country air. He was home. He was loved. He was happy. And he knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, as a family, bound together by their unwavering love and their unbreakable bond. They had proven that family isn't about blood. It's about love. And that was all that mattered.